Hi everyone, it's time for the My Meadow Cards to Go, card number 3. Remember, we've done card number 1 and 2, and if you didn't catch those, you can go back and look through the blog posts and see the videos for card number 1 and 2. And if you haven't gotten a card kit yet and you would like one, just let me know and I can get one of those out to you. So let's see what card number 3 looks like. Okay, so here we are. This is card number 3. We have a few interesting things going on here. We've got our embossing folder to make our background with the woodland, and this folder is still available in the new catalog that begins June 3rd. We also have a little trick here with our stamped image where we've got a piece of it raised up. So let's see how we did all that. Oh, but first, remember, this was card 1, this was card 2, and you can go back on the blog posts and see the videos for that. And remember that I'm using the My Meadow kit. You can use the My Meadow card stamp set if you'd like, or you can use something else that you have, whatever works for you. The supplies you'll receive with this card to go is your soft seaside spray, base, your 2 pieces of soft suede. One of them is dry embossed with the woodland, your inside panel of Whisper White, and this piece right here, which may look very interesting on how do we do that, and then the Starburst Punch. And this is the Starburst Punch. This is retiring, and it will not be available with the June 3rd catalog. This will only be available until June 2nd or as supplies hold out. Okay, so the Starburst Punch is going away. And also, I created my son out of the 1-inch punch, and it is also retiring. So only available until June 2nd or while supplies last. So for the first thing I'd like to do for this card is go ahead and put this white on it. Okay. Now this, and I think if you've seen me before, you've seen me talk about Whisper White, and it is so sticky and so messy, but it is a very good opaque ink. I think I've told you before also, there's 2 ways to do this. You can use a sponge dauber to get it, but I find I tend to make a little bit of a mess when I use the sponge dauber. I don't just get right on the trees. Sometimes I fall off of them with my sponge dauber. What I like to do, and it may not be much better, is I like to take, I like to take a solid piece of red rubber, and this is out of the middle of one of my old stamps, or I've also found that this image from the poppies, from the painted poppies, will also work because it's fairly solid. It's a little bit dimensional. It has some of those crosshatches in it from what they call the distinctive stamps. So I like to just tap that, and this ink pad isn't inked up real soppy, because if you do, it just gets more messy. So the first thing I need to do is wipe off the white that I got on my hands from just touching that ink pad. So I'm going to use my Simply Chamois for that and try to get all that off. It is a super messy pad, and this is about the only thing I use it for. I think it is pretty good for embossing if you want to put some embossing powder on it, because it'll stick to it, but I'm not going to use it for that right now. I'm just going to try to get some white on my trees and just lightly dragging it across, trying to be careful not to get in between. So I really only want to do the raised parts of the trees. And you see that's actually working pretty well. It's not really messing up too much I hope I didn't jinx myself. But just lightly dragging it across to get a little bit of white, just to make these trees pop out. And again, my ink pad is not very wet, so I'm not really picking up a lot of ink, but I think that's probably a good thing for this particular method. I don't want a bunch of ink on here because I don't want a bunch of ink smeared around in other places. So that looks pretty good. Maybe a little more down here, although this will probably, it might end up being covered by our stamped panel. Maybe just a little on this one. Okay, so we'll put that aside. So there we've got some highlights on our trees. So I'll put that aside. Close up this messy white ink pad. And again, wipe that ink off my fingers. And then let's start to stamp. Now you got your stamped panel like this. Now there's a couple ways you could have done this, but I went ahead and punched out the circle. It's a 2-inch circle punch because I didn't know if you had a circle punch so to punch it out. Normally what you would do is go ahead and stamp on the entire sheet and then punch out the piece of your image that you wanted punched. But I didn't know if you had that. Now I have put just a little bit of sticky snail down on the mat just to hold them in place while I stamp them. I'm going to lay this down here and I'm going to try to get my circle to fit back in that hole, and it should since it came out of that hole. And that's just a very tiny little bit of adhesive there just to hold it, so I will be able to pick it up. I'm going to go ahead and start out with my soft seafoam grass. You could, if you prefer, start out and put your wheelbarrow right there in the middle of your circle, but I'm going to try to be careful and put my soft seafoam grass at the place that I need it to be so that I can place my wheelbarrow in the proper place. So I know that I want my soft seafoam grass to come up, you know, pretty good ways on that circle. So I'll just start there. And this fits together pretty good, so I'm just going to keep overlapping it to make my grass. I can give it another little hit right in there where it missed. If I get a little ink on there, I can. Okay. And then this fits pretty good in here. I can overlap it a good little bit. Remember to press it, touch it, leave it, let it transfer. And then I'm going to just hit this extra little bit down here because I do want some, I mean, it's a nice varied kind of model coverage, which is kind of like the grass would be. If you look at your grass, it's not solid. So there's my grass. Close up the soft seafoam. Wipe off my stamp on my Simply Chamois. And now let's get the wheelbarrow. Okay, and we need to use the smoky slate for the wheelbarrow. And I know that I want my wheelbarrow fairly close to the front of that circle, and I want it sitting down in my grass. So I'm going to try to sit it down in my grass. I'll try not to have it floating on top. That's not too bad. And oh, I forgot to tell you, I am using the mat because I'm using the photopolymer stamps. And then I'm going to put the actual business part of the wheelbarrow in, what you need to use to carry your stuff. And I'm going to use soft suede to do that. And we can see through this pretty good, so try to get it down here pretty good. Touch it, leave it set a second, and pick it straight up. And I just love these distinctive stamps. They've got the cross hatching in them to get the different shading. And I think that's so pretty. Okay. Now I can start putting my trees in now. And put my larger tree right here. This is the larger tree. And then I'm just going to put a few smaller trees around. I won't be able to fit as many in as I did on the other one. Maybe I'll stick one over here. As you can see, everyone will be different. Okay, so that looks like enough trees. Given this type of stamp set, I won't ever be able to get the same image or the same scene twice, just because I'll never be that perfect in setting it. Okay, so I'm going to use these little leafy things to put in my wheelbarrow. And I'm going to use my mossy meadow because I've already used my light green and I want some dark green for contrast. So I'm going to try to get these down as low in my wheelbarrow as I can so they don't look like they're floating up on top. And they don't. That looks good. And then I need to do, I may as well, since I have this out, do my grass. I'm just using my little grass. And I'm just gonna just do it all over. Now that'll give me a chance to cover up that little smudge there that I did. See? Look at that. No big deal. And you can go ahead and stamp it and then stamp it a couple of more times. We're just kind of doing this for texture. Oh, I've got some under my wheelbarrow there. And it really doesn't matter how much of this you put down. I'm just kind of doing it to have some interest in my grass. Put some under that tree. Stamp off and get a little up here. Okay, it looks good to me. Again, it's just freeform. It's nothing, whatever you come up with, it'll be perfect. So I think oh no, I still need to do my trees. So I have my dots again that I'm using for my tree leaves. And remember that my trees are going to be darker. The leaves are going to be darker in the middle. So I'm going to try to keep that dark in the middle and then stamp off around it. And I like to just do multiple stamps until I get the shape of the tree that I want. Looks like I need a little bit more up there. Okay, and that looks good. I'm just trying to make a nice shaped tree. Those look pretty nice. I wouldn't mind having those in my yard. And I need some flowers in that wheelbarrow. So I'm going to use my Rococo Rose. I'm going to use this little flower cluster. I'm going to try to sink these down into my wheelbarrow too. Get it inked up nice. Just lay these down in there and give them a chance to transfer. Oh, that's pretty. I love it when it works. Sometimes it doesn't, and we'll deal with it. Every mistake is an opportunity, either for embellishment or some other way. And now we're going to finish our stamping with our clouds. So it seems like I have a large cloud there and a couple of little clouds. Again, it doesn't matter. I can put them wherever I want, but I think I'm going to go ahead and stick with that. Do a large cloud. And then add a couple of smaller clouds. I'll try to cover that little smudge that I made there. And then you notice that I put one across here. I just wanted to show that. And that'll be really pretty when we pick that up and put it on our card. Okay, one more thing. Okay, now we don't have, in this set, we don't have a sun stamp. But that's not going to stop me. If I want a sun, I'm going to make a sun. So I'm going to grab out my Mango Melody, one of my favorite of the yellows. I just love the richness of the color. And then I'm going to get a large stamp like that. And on my 1 inch, let me pick this up because I don't want to mess on it. Again, I did have a little sticky there to keep that in place while I was working on it. I didn't want my circle to come out while I was stamping. So I'm just going to take this large image, tap it in my Mango Melody, and then I'm just going to cover the circle with it. You can see I have to go twice, but that's okay. I didn't get as dark as I wanted, so I'm going to do it again. And you just do it however much you like, okay? So there is my sun. So now I just need to put the outside of my card together. So I've got my base. Oops, I got that on that sticky part. I've got my base. Somewhere I have my trees. There we go. Okay, and when you put these down, don't mess up like I do. The branches go up. The branches don't go down. The branches go up, okay? So don't mess up like I did once. I put it on wrong side. So because this is an embossing folder, an embossed image, I really like to use the wet glue. The double stick tape works pretty good too, but I find that the tape runners don't hold as well with the embossed because there's less of it touching the card base. Okay, here comes the fun part. Now we're just going to put this down as normal. Placing it on our card. This is 3/4 inch wide by 3.5, so our 3/4 inch wide leaves us a nice little edge on each side. And then we'll put this right over that. And then we'll add this on top of it, so it'll complete our image. So just gonna go ahead and some glue on that. Now I didn't bump this one up on dimensionals, so I'm just gonna go ahead and put it on, cover my circle, cover my punched out circle, and then grab my dimensionals. You know I love some dimensionals. And I do like them to be pretty sturdy. So I use a lot of dimensionals. Just flick those off anywhere. I'll get them later. And I'll line up this with my cloud, with the edge of the tree, with the grass. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I just love that effect. I've got it a little off to the side, but there's no way I'm going to pull those dimensionals off and get it. Okay, so now we can do our inside. Oh, sorry, one more thing. We're going to have to dimensional our sun up here too. So let's get, I think one dimensional will probably do that 1 inch sun. Just stick it right up here. Okay, so let's do our inside. And I used a little piece of grass, a tree, and I also used a saying out of the Well Said. There's lots of sayings in here. This particular one is, know that love prayers and caring surround you today. But there's several. This is just a really nice sentiment set. And then that's all it is. It's just sentiments. So I'll put my sentiment on first. And it's with my soft suede. Just place it where I want it and try to get it straight. Straight down, touch it, and straight up. You don't really have to press real hard. You just have to press it straight down and straight up. Now I'm going to use my big tree. I should probably go ahead and put my grass down first, so I know where to put my tree. Oh, I need to clean this off because I used that with the Mango Melody, and that'll change the color of my green grass. So clean it off first, then stamp it down. That looks good. If you'll notice when I did this one, I forgot to clean off the Mango Melody, and then I stamped it straight down on the soft seafoam, and I got a little bit more yellowed looking grass than what I have here. So that was my boo-boo. So this is really the true soft suede. It didn't bother me any. It's just fine. But I remembered this time, so I corrected that. Okay, now let's get my tree in there. And I do love some trees. And I'm going to put some leaves on my trees because I love summer and I love leaves on my trees. So I'm going to need my mossy meadow for that. And my little dots is what I've been using for the leaves on the trees. And just put them wherever you like them. And you see I'm stamping multiple times just to create the shadow and the light. Okay, that looks good for me. And I can put that on my base. Trying to get it fairly straight. And put it on the inside. You see I've made a mess of my mat, but that's okay. And there we go. Let's put my ink away. So there we go. They're not the same, but they're still pretty. Like I said, I won't be able to build the scene exactly the same twice. So this is our third of our cards to go. And for our next cards to go, I hope you have your catalog. And if you don't, and you expected one, you please let me know. And go to page 11 and look at this pretty paper. And this paper uses all of our new colors: Magenta Madness, Cinnamon Cider, Bumblebee, Just Jade, and Misty Moonlight. And I love green. I'm having a feeling I'm really going to like that. And then we will also use this set, the Celebrate Sunflower stamps and the dies that go with it. And there are several dies that go with it. I haven't made up anything yet, but that's what we're planning for next cards to go. If you're interested in this and you want these for your next cards to go, if you want to have this before we start our cards to go, I'll supply the paper. But if you want the stamp set to use with it, you can get the stamps or you can add the dies, whatever you choose. But that's what we'll be using for our next cards to go. So I hope you've enjoyed the My Meadow series. If you have any questions, let me know. Please send me pictures of your cards. And next up, I will be doing an unboxing. I got a little box of happiness in the mail yesterday. Well, from the Brown from UPS, and I can't wait to open it up. And I will be opening it up and showing you the box of goodies that we will be doing our projects over the rest of the summer probably. So the Celebrate Sunflowers is in there, so you'll get to see that stamp set and the paper and whatever else I got in that little box of goodies. So see you next time. Y'all take care. Have a great day. Bye.